This segment is brought to you by Cardiovascular Institute of the South, providing our patients the highest quality cardiovascular care available.
I'd like to first off welcome everyone to today's ceremony and thank you all for taking the time to be here on such a beautiful day. I want to personally thank a couple of people. Archie Chasson, Parish President, Sheriff Weber, Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office, Wendy Thibodeau, Assessor, Annette Fontana, Clerk, Monique Crochet, Thibodeau City Council, Mark Perk, Lafourche Parish Council, Michelle Lafont, Golden Medal Chief of Police, Calvin Cooks, Thibodeau Marshal, Joe Waits, the District Attorney from Terrebonne Parish, Jason Chotney, the Chief of Trials and handles all child abuse cases through the center, Brian Fontenot, State Representative, District 55, Brian Zarang, Chief of Police at Thibodeau, and all attending MDT members, thank you very much for attending today. A little bit about me is my name is Shannon Groh, and I have been a child forensic interviewer here for the last 19 years. My journey started in law enforcement in 1998 with the Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office under the command of Sheriff Weber. After a short period of time, I moved into investigations, working as a juvenile detective. For 5.5 years, I worked as a detective. I loved my job, but what I really found is that I worked really well with victims of crimes, especially those that were under the age of 18 years old. In February of 2006, I had the opportunity and was appointed to the role of child forensic interviewer at the center. Since then, I've completed trainings all over the United States on how to properly conduct these interviews, from basic to advanced techniques. In 2011, I became nationally certified through the National Association of Certified Child Forensic Interviewers, and since then I have continued to obtain that certification. In 2023, I graduated from Nichols with a master's degree in clinical mental health, and currently licensed as a PLPC in the state of Louisiana. I get the opportunity to use all these skills on a daily basis here at the center while handling also daily operations Monday through Friday. I get to work under the guidance of our executive director, Ms. Christine Russell, but it was Cameron, who was the district attorney at the time, and Ms. Christine, who was an ADA all those years ago, that gave me a chance. It's a great honor and a privilege to get to stand here and be a part of this ceremony. And I would like to now welcome our director and current district attorney, Christine Russell, on the history of the center.
Thank you, Shannon. I appreciate it. It's fitting that we're here today as April is Child Abuse Awareness Month. So this is a perfect day for this type of recognition. I thank you all for being here. Just to give you a little bit about what the center is, for those of you who may not know, the center is nonprofit. It was established in 2005 by District Attorney then Camille Morvant, and this year is our 20th anniversary, and we're very proud of that. Prior to 2002 and prior to his election as DA, Cam served as the chief prosecutor of child abuse cases in Lafourche Parish. At that time, child victims were required to relive their trauma multiple times by having to tell multiple agencies about the abuse. To really make you understand, before there were children's advocacy centers and a child told law enforcement that something had happened to them maybe over the weekend, they had to tell their story, maybe to that law enforcement officer, maybe to a principal, maybe to a teacher, maybe to a counselor, then probably to the Department of Social Services, and eventually to our office. So multiple times that child had to tell their story. One of Cam's first acts as district attorney was to establish this center so that child victims would have a safe place to talk about their trauma, but also they would only have to do it once. The center is so blessed to have Shannon Groh as its forensic interviewer. Shannon not only conducts interviews at the center, he manages the day-to-day operations, and we could not have this center without Shannon Groh. It is because of his dedication and commitment that this center stays open. The center was initially located in downtown Thibodeau, and with the assistance of Sheriff Craig Weber, it was painted, renovated, and prepared for the children of Lafourche. The center moved to this location in the year 2020. The center would not work without the cooperation of all of our law enforcement agencies, and they are all represented here today, and the Department of Child and Family Services. Since opening its doors in 2005, and I'll show you represented by a bead that goes into a jar every time a kid comes in, 3,662 children have been interviewed at this center. I'll say it again, 3,662 children have been interviewed. 61 children so far in the year 2025. Our counselor, who is here, Ms. Tanya Bro, was hired in 2023 to provide counseling services to the children who come through this center. Since the center has provided counseling in 2023, 343 children have gotten services and 47 children so far this year. In addition to providing interviews and counseling services, this center, through the work of Shannon and in partnership with our office at the District Attorney's Office, he provides internet safety training to thousands of children and parents and school organizations throughout our parish and other parishes as well. And as I mentioned, this is nonprofit. So we are able to provide all of these services to all of the children in Lafourche through the generosity of many private donors, agencies, and that is why we keep these doors open. And I am so honored right now to introduce to all of you Ms. Crystal Hilliard Mitchell. She is the Executive Director of the Louisiana Alliance of Children's Advocacy Centers, and she drove all this way, and I greatly appreciate it. Come on, Ed.
Thank you so much, Christine and Mr. Shannon. Good morning, everyone. Today, I'm honored to represent the Louisiana Alliance of Children's Advocacy Centers. Of course, we are also a nonprofit organization that supports our 14 children's advocacy centers across the state of Louisiana. Our mission is to facilitate a coordinated multidisciplinary response to the heart-wrenching issue of child abuse, focusing on the development of vital programs, comprehensive trainings, and a robust advocacy efforts. We envision a day when every child across our state has equitable access to high-quality support and care regardless of their individual circumstances or geographic location. The reality of child abuse is an epidemic, impacting countless lives each year. Research suggests that 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be sexually abused by their 18th birthday. To put this into perspective, just last year, 7,319 children sought help through walking through the doors of one of the 14 CACs across the state of Louisiana. 7,319 children. While these numbers are troubling, they underscore the critical need for the services and resources provided by children's advocacy centers. It fills my heart with immense joy to stand here today to commemorate 20 years of the CAC of Lafourche. District Attorney Christine Russell and, of course, Mr. Shannon Grow have been invaluable champions for child safety, working diligently to strengthen the community's response to child abuse. Thanks to so much for your efforts and all that you do each and every day for children here. And I will say also that they have achieved National Children's Alliance affiliate membership. And so that means that they are now working towards full accreditation through National Children's Alliance to ensure that they are providing quality services for children as well. As we recognize child abuse, April as Child Abuse Awareness Month, it is truly heartwarming to witness the support of this community in standing for children of child abuse, and we want to make sure that we continue to do so. Together, we can foster an environment that not only protects, but also empowers our youth, ensuring that they have the opportunity to thrive and flourish. Thank you so much.
This segment was brought to you by Buick. Exceptional by design.
I'd like to now call up our parish president, Mr. Archie Chasson.
Good morning, everyone. It's a real honor to be able to be here today, and not only honor the 20 years of the great service that you guys have done, but also honor a great man whose vision started this. A man who I got to meet when I was a young 17-year-old kid when I got my first traffic ticket, and had to go see him and got put into a PTI program and revarnished all the pews at the convent in Lockport. So, Cam, I appreciate that. But it's an honor to be here and recognize you. And since 2005, and even prior to your election as DA, when you prosecuted all the sex crimes in the 17th JDC, and of course after your election, how you worked tirelessly to establish this center and the CAC's mission, which is to provide area children an area to disclose that sexual assault in a safe place with a forensic interviewer and a counselor who makes that process as painless as possible in their time of need. So in commemoration of that, Cam, I'm honored to be here with Councilman Mark Perk, whose district we sit in as well. As we rename this, I don't know if I'm pulling the gun too soon, but we can
unveil it in a minute.
Okay, but as we do this, I'm honored to present this proclamation to you, Cam. And a thing that we've only done, I think, 3 times so far in Lafourche Parish, hand you a key to the parish. So I'm not really sure what it opens anymore, but we're happy to do it. It's a skeleton key, so God knows what it opens, right?
You're good friend. Thank you. Appreciate you. Very nice. Thank you very much. I don't have one of these.
We're good.
You can stay up here.
Okay.
Sorry. Thank you. So let me just say a few words before we get to why we are here. I met Cam in 1996 when I began working at the law firm of Morvant Cavell, and at that time he had been a prosecutor for many years and handled all of the child abuse cases in our parish. Over the years of working together in the private office, he would take time often to talk to me about some of his cases. And of course, as a young lawyer, I was soaking it all in. Over the years, he would say time and time again, there has to be a better way. There has to be a better way for adults, police officers, investigators, and prosecutors to interact with our child victims. Even before becoming district attorney in 2003, he began researching the concept of an advocacy center. He knew that they had those throughout the nation, and he wanted one so desperately here in Lafourche Parish. In 2003, when he became district attorney, he promised the folks of Lafourche Parish he would establish a center, and he did just that in 2005. Now, in a minute, we will unveil our new sign, and we will honor Cam for his determination in opening this center and all the good that he has done and all the good that it does, and how much we truly appreciate him. But before we do that, I need you to know more about that sign and what it means to some of us, because it's some things that you may not know. Because Cam not only gave Lafourche Parish the center, but without a doubt, he has given us a piece of his soul and a piece of his well-being. When Cam handled a case, and I can say this personally, he did not compartmentalize. He did not emotionally attach from the case or from his victims. Nope. Before trials, Cam would put the pictures of those sweet children that he was fighting for right on his desk so that he could look at their faces over and over again. And I could never understand how he could do it. I'm so glad you're standing behind me. You may not know this, and I'm sorry if I'm saying something you don't know or he doesn't want me to tell you, but he has dyslexia. So he would stay up at night and read over and over again reports and files. And let me tell you, he could research and read mounds of medical records to review, and without fail, he would direct us to the exact page and paragraph needed without hesitation. Cam had a presence in the courtroom that demanded respect. He was probably pretty intimidating to other lawyers, but with those little bitties, he earned their trust, and he would take Mr. Cam's hand and take that stand with such bravery that he instilled in each and every one. If you watched him in court, and I had the pleasure of doing that and the privilege, you would think he had the utmost confidence. And I was lucky enough to try a few cases with him, and I remember before trial, I looked at him, I said, "You still get nervous before trials?" And I remember him looking at me and he said, "Every single time." In preparations for trial, he did not sleep. During trial, he did not eat except for French fries. But then Dana quickly changed that to smoothies. Cam sacrificed so much for our community. He is an amazing trial lawyer. He could have easily taken a path to do civil work and make a whole lot of money. Instead, I think he understood what his purpose in life is, and it's to fight for children. I know you will never forget the beautiful faces that you placed on your desk all these years. I can't look at you, and I know if they could be here, they would all thank you. But please know that 3,662 littles that you will never know and see, and all those in the future, thank you too. So without further ado, I would like to announce that as of April 11th, 2025, would you help me, Shannon? And we use camouflage for camo. I would like to now say that this center will now be renamed. I think?
Yep. You ready?
Yeah. The Camille A. Morvant Children's Advocacy Center of Lafourche in honor and recognition of a career dedicated to the protection of children.
Thank you. Thank you. Christine, thank you for those kind words. And everyone who is here, and the kind things that you said to me this morning about me, it kind of makes me feel like I took a wrong turn getting here. I'm at the wrong place. But it's not, for those of you that know me well, the least comfort zone that I have is talking about myself. But I've done a lot of reflecting since Christine called me on this, a lot of thinking. And I used to be able to sit down, because I've done this hundreds of times, not this, but I've gotten in front of a mic or given a presentation either in court or at an organization hundreds of times. And I don't know why, but this was the most difficult to prepare for. Christine's dad, my dear friend, drove me around Lafourche Parish for 20 years. And we had a little system that we would do if I was going somewhere to give a talk. We'd get part of the way there, I'd flip the radio off, take my tablet out, jot some notes, and go talk for 30 minutes. When Christine called me a month ago, I took my tablet out and pretty much wrote my first sentence last night. I just couldn't get into it. It brought back a lot of memories. Jason, you and I had a good conversation last night. And while you're doing this and you're dealing with these horrific acts that happen to children, we just have a tendency to move on to the next case. We finish one case, we move on to another. And it's not until you've finished and you've hung it up that you have time to really think about what actually happened and the impact it's had on these children. So I don't have any notes in front of me, so I hope this doesn't get off track. But I want to start out by thanking everyone, first of all of you, and I sincerely mean it, for coming. A big thank you from my heart to my family for being here, especially my wife, Dana, who has always been with me and supported me, and I appreciate that. So for all of you that took the time in your busy schedules to come here, I greatly appreciate it. Shannon, what you and Tanya do here is phenomenal. It really is. The patience, the care, the unwavering dedication to this center is unbelievable. And we have Child Awareness, Abuse Awareness Month, and we ought to have a Child Abuse Awareness years, as you well know. But the work that you have put into this center and the work that y'all do here is something that unfortunately a lot of people in Lafourche Parish are not aware of it, but y'all do a phenomenal job. And I thank you for that, I really do. To the District Attorney's Office as a whole, it was my life for a long time. And I thank y'all for coming out, I really do. There's some of y'all I'm looking out in the audience now. Leslie, you and I have been through a lot. Leslie worked the child abuse cases with me. I tried what I believe to be the first child abuse case in the history of this parish in 1983. And child abuse was looked at differently, by no fault of anyone and no criticism by any stretch. But it was like in the category of a domestic violence case where it was things that people just handled within the home. Law enforcement did not get involved in it that much. And I had some epic battles during the 80s with with various state agencies and various groups of law enforcement officers, because I wanted to make it very clear to them that there was going to be a change made. I tried the first case. I was fortunate enough to get a conviction. I met with Mr. Dugard and told him I want to start trying all the child abuse cases in the parish. His first response was, "You go keep doing everything else you're doing." I said, "Sure, no problem." Because in those days, we handled the division of court and everything that walked through the swinging doors, from arraignments to misdemeanors to felon. We tried a traffic ticket and a homicide, all in the same court. So I started floating in all the different divisions doing the child abuse cases. And it was, I guess the best way to put it, little did I know what I was getting myself into. Little did I know. Because I really didn't know what I was doing at that time. And I agree with Christine. I used to always think that there had to be a better way to do this for these children. You know, they were interviewed at school, they were interviewed at the hospitals, they were interviewed by law enforcement, brought to me, brought back to law enforcement. There had to be a better way to do it. And you had to be able to establish a rapport with these children. You know, I talk about things in life, and I use, as some of you know, I use certain sayings, and one of my sayings are redos. We cannot redo certain things in life. You don't go back and be a senior in high school. You don't redo that. It's over with. You get one time to do it, and that's it. And with these children, when you meet them for the first time, you don't get a redo on the first visit. And Jason, you know that. There's no redos. So you got to make sure that when that child finishes that interview, that you are that child's protector, you're that child's advocate, and that child understands that you're not going to let anything else bad happen to them. And that all has to be done in that interview. And it had to be done earlier. Today, we have people who are experts in doing that. So when we get them today at the DA's office now, it's a whole different ball game. So this piece of the puzzle was missing for a long time when I was doing this, a long time. So I thank the district attorney's office. I thank you for taking on the battle line and stepping up. And you're going to face adversity. We all do. And I'll tell you about adversity very briefly. There's 3 things that you can do when something comes up that's adverse to what you want to do or what you should be doing. Adversity will rear its ugly head when you least expect it. And there's 3 things you can do. You can turn around and run the other way, which I've never in my life done. You can try and go around it, but I found in my career, if you go around it, it'll rear its ugly head someplace else. Or you can squash it, knock it down, walk on it, and keep the journey going. And that's usually the best path to take. So these cases are filled with adversity. They're very difficult. I have never told a prosecutor, including Christine when she was doing it, and now Judge Reshard when she was doing it, and Jason, you, and we've had a lot of conversations. I've never told you these were easy cases to deal with. They're not. This is not like somebody stole a lawnmower out of somebody's shed in the backyard. There's a lot of emotion that goes into it, a lot of caring, a lot of work, a lot of work. So I thank the district attorney's office for continuing on with the path. Law enforcement, I thank law enforcement. Brian, thank you for coming. Sheriff, thank you for being here, and everybody else involved in law enforcement. I do appreciate it. Craig, I'm gonna give you a belated thanks, because Christine briefly mentioned when we started the Advocacy Center, we got a building before we had a plan, because we had to find a building that was next to the courthouse and the DA's office. And so we secured a building, and I realized we didn't have a plan. And the building was deplorable. I was scared to walk in it. Christine's dad at the time, who worked for me, my dear friend, he went and looked at the building and he says, "Boss, we could do stuff with it." I said, "Okay, that's fine." But he says, "We gotta demolish it first." I said, "All right, that's gonna be an expense and we don't have any money." So I went to your office, you may recall this a long time ago, explained to you how important this was, explained to you that I needed this facility, and explained to you I needed you to help pay for it and get the workers over there for me. And you responded that you had a lot of workers housed that could help us out, which you did. And so we started the demolition work, we did it. We got contractors that came in and helped us out and did a lot of work for us and didn't charge us because we didn't have any money to pay them. And when we needed something and I called you, it got done. Poochie became my unofficial superintendent, and it was shortly I realized he didn't have a clue about construction. All right, about as much knowledge as I had. But what he could do, he could talk to people, and people liked him. The inmates loved him. All right, he was buying them lunch on my credit card, personal, not DA's office. He would get them lunch every day, and they got along great. And when we needed something at the facility, a wall moved or something done, and we called you, it got done. So thank you very much for what you did, helping getting this off the ground. Craig, I cannot go on without thanking you for all the good times we had. You and I ran hard in those days, in the early '90s, and we had some good times and some successful, unsuccessful, but we worked at it. And you're a true friend. I appreciate you being here. I really do. And if I don't recognize anybody here, it's not because I'm not doing it. It's just I'd probably be better if I brought something up. Now I'm going to conclude with Ms. Russell. You knew I didn't forget you.
I was hoping you did.
I know you did. Well, I've been knowing Ms. Russell for a long time. We have traveled a long journey together. We've been through a lot together. We've been through some good times and bad times. I remember it was like yesterday, and I'm sincere when I say this, when you interviewed with us, and you said it was not, I didn't remember the year, 1996. You just got out of LSU Law School. And these are the things I remember. Danny and I were in the library, and Christine comes in, and you're a little nervous. You're very prepared, very talkative. Business, it was strictly business we talked about. I knew your father then, I knew your mother, and we had a very good interview. And when we finished the interview, you got up, politely shook hands with us, walked out, and Danny and I are sitting down talking, and he said, "What do you think?" I said, "I don't know, I think she got potential." I said, "I think that we would do well in bringing her on. She's going to work hard. She's got a good ethics like we do as far as work ethics and doing the job that we should be doing. And you have definitely, without a doubt, fulfilled that. And I thank you for that. I really do. And I thank you for the friendship that we've had. I danced with you at your wedding.
You did.
I watched your children grow up. It's been a long journey. So, one of the things I want to mention also is that the sketch or the Farm Fire Advocacy Center was not something that we made up when I got elected, although I'd been thinking about it for 20 years. Christine and I did make several trips to Terrebonne Parish, to my good friend Joe Waits, who's here today, and thank you, Joe, for taking the time to come. And we went to your center. I don't know if you recall or not, but we went to your center numerous times before we finally opened ours. And you guys had done a phenomenal job and continue to do a phenomenal job. And you know, because I know you, and I know you know that how important it is that we protect these children and do what's necessary to protect the children. And so thank you, for the guidance you helped with us in the early days back in the late 90s. And again, you're a dear friend. Thank you for being here this morning. I appreciate it. In closing, this is not a topic that we like to talk about. It's not a good topic. It makes some people sick to their stomach. And for 99% of y'all out there, y'all really don't know what I'm talking about because you just know it's child abuse and it's not good. It's horrific acts that are committed on these children by people. Horrific. Acts you don't even want to talk about or think about. But I want you to know this. The way it makes you feel pales in comparison to what it does to these children and to what it does to them for a lifetime. For a lifetime. And so my message, if there's any message here this morning, is that we cannot and we should not ever stop talking about this subject. We should not do that. Because if you stop talking about horrible things, they continue to happen and they get worse. We cannot let the children down. We cannot. We're the barrier between them and evil. We really are. This center is, and all the people who support this center. And so when we stop talking about things that make us uncomfortable, those things usually get worse. You have to address them. It's like I said earlier about adversity. You smash it, you step on it, and you go forward. That's what you have to do. So I want to thank y'all all for coming out. I am humbled at this. I really am. And when you think about it, the big scheme of things, they've put my name on a little wooden building here in Thibodaux. Okay? And when you look at it, you're like, okay, I cannot tell you what this means to me and how humbled I am. Never in my wildest dreams, with all those hours that the last 40 years, never in my wildest dreams I believed that I would be standing up here talking about this. Never. And so thank y'all very much for coming out. I greatly appreciate it. Christine, thank you. It's been a long journey, and thank you. Appreciate it. All right.
Coach, I still call you Coach.
You do.
I hear everybody up there calling you DA and Cam, but I still call you Coach because it goes way back.
You and a lot
before
of other young men still call me that, Martin.
But what a journey, and I always tell people, if we would have won that state championship our senior year, you may never have taken that route you took. So I feel like, in a way, through adversity, we're responsible for you taking another avenue, because Vanderbilt would have upped your salary to $40,000 if we'd have won that state championship. But
I don't know about that, but I think it was. I'm a person that believes in this destiny. I do. I believe we make our choices. I mean, that's what the good Lord allows us to do, is make choices. But you do have a destiny. And my father was an attorney, and he kind of kept after me to go to law school, and I was fortunate enough to get in. I mean, I tried 3 times to get in, and they finally let me in. And I think I've done okay for myself over the last 42 years. So, but it has been an interesting journey.
That's one of the things I was thinking of on the way here. I remember you telling me that your dad was pretty persistent, as you give your brother a high five, but your dad was pretty persistent. He saw something in you that maybe you didn't see in yourself at that time.
My dad was a good man. When he passed away, I can't believe it's probably 30 years. And even a year after he was gone, I found myself walking down the hallway to go to his office to go ask him something, because he always had the answer for me. He really did. He was a good guy. He was the kind of guy. He was an honest lawyer, ethical lawyer, and he was just a good man. And so I learned a lot from him. And he was a hard worker. He always preached, never walk in the courtroom when you're not prepared. Never do anything when you're not prepared. I brought that into coaching. I mean, we worked a lot of hours in those days and had some good assistants and obviously some good football players went along with it, which was not bad. But we put in a tremendous amount of hours, and I carried that work ethic on to the field of law when I got in it. I use a saying that, if you can imagine, I tell young lawyers, there's a field with 1,000 rocks, and the answer to your question's under one of them. All right, so what do you have to do? You got to flip them till you find your answer. Even if it's the 1,000th rock, the last one, you flip it over. That's where your answer's going to be. So you have to work at any profession, but especially this one. You really have to work at it.
A lot of people who know that a lot of us were coached by you would ask me, well, we see him now as a DA or a judge or whatever role you took, and they said, what was he like as a coach? I said, I could sum that up in one sentence. No one outworked Coach Cam Morvant. You were a workaholic at everything you did.
Well, yeah, pretty much, I guess. I mean, I would get the films of our game on Friday nights at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'd go pick them up and look at them till 4, and go take care of y'all little bobos on Saturday morning with your whirlpools and everything else. Y'all all showing up over there to get in, and we'd sit down and break those films down, and we had to look at films, and it was 80+ hour weeks, easy 80-hour week plus. And so, but look, that was a good part of my life. I did it for 6 years. It taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about people. And I think that I was able to carry it over into the legal profession, because the legal profession is dealing with people. It's dealing with jurors, it's dealing with judges, it's dealing with witnesses, law enforcement, it's dealing with people. And I got to meet a lot of people in those 6 years, a lot of different people, different economic backgrounds and so on, and different concerns about their kids and things of that nature. So it was a good learning experience for me. I didn't go to law school until I was almost 30 years old. I think that was a good thing. I got a lot of mileage on myself before I went, high school, college, law school. And so I see a lot of young lawyers sometimes that they would probably benefit from maybe going out into the world and doing some of the things I did. I mean, I was a welder. I was a certified welder at one time. I sold copy machines. I managed a furniture store. I did a lot of different things and coached football and taught for 6 years. So I think it rounds you out and it gives you a better perspective of people and, you know, what you can expect and not expect from certain people.
We're going to jump forward. One more question because a lot of people want to talk to you, and you'll be at HTV in a couple of weeks. I want to do another one-on-one, and I thank you for that. But today, when you look at all the time you put in to start an advocacy center, and they call you out on a beautiful day,
Yes.
and everybody's out here, and we all get to witness that name on that building. I know you're not one to let yourself sink into the emotions sometimes, but that's got to touch you pretty good.
This is one of the hardest, I don't call it a speech, one of the hardest things I've done in a long time, I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of out the picture. I've been retired now. Well, I'm not retired. I'm doing so. I got 3 different jobs I do and do a lot of different things, but this was really difficult. It brought back a lot of memories. It really did. This stuff, as I said earlier up there, when you're doing it every day, you just finishing one file, you're getting a jury verdict, and you're going home, and you're coming back, you got 10 more files on your desk. And so it's really little time to contemplate and what you're really doing and how what effect it's had on these children's lives. And it's not until I got away from it and walked away from it where there's many nights I wake up now. Yeah. For me to get where I got in life, he had a lot to do with it. He took up the slack when I couldn't be there, never said a word about it. Yeah. And even today, when I got a problem, I got something, sort of like, we were talking about my daddy. We used to go see him down the hallway, and we were still looking for him when he was gone. I still go see him. We still talk. And I value his opinion. He's a good man, and so he's a dear friend.
It's been a great relationship.
It has
It
been.
really has.
This segment was brought to you by Trapp Chevrolet. We're always on your side.
All right, what a beautiful day to have this ceremony. I call him Coach still, Coach Morvant, but of course we know he's done so much more over the years. But what a great day, Christine. Thank you for putting it together. And what spurred this on? Something had to be processing in your mind to get this going.
Now, as we go along with this center, and there comes a point, especially our 20th anniversary, we wouldn't be here if it wouldn't be for him and his forward thinking. And so, I sat there talking to Shannon, and I said, it's time to recognize him. We always wait to recognize people when it's too late. He is here. He needs to understand how much we appreciate him and how we would not have a center if it would not be for Cam.
Yeah, no doubt. And Joe, you had Coach with you at Vanderbilt too, and I said he always was an overachiever. He always was a workaholic. He always put his heart and soul in everything. And you work a lot with him now, but I'm sure you see that he just doesn't give up, does he?
He doesn't. And you know what? You can't find a more humble, great guy than Cam Morvant. He's just that guy that puts his heart and soul into something, like in his interview when he was talking up there a minute ago. He just he's an advocate for the kids. He's a fighter for the kids, and this is well deserving for him because of what he's done over the years. You can't find a better man than Cam Morvant.
He tells it like it is. And Christine, I didn't know you were so shy when you came out of LSU and he was interviewing you, but he saw something in you despite the fact that you had just graduated. And when he sees something in people, he will not give up on them.
No, he won't. And I tell you, when I got out of law school, I applied at every district attorney's office in Louisiana because I wanted to be a prosecutor. I wanted to prosecute child abuse cases, and I couldn't get a job. He took me in, and what the irony of it was is that's what he did. And so all those years, I soaked up all the knowledge. I watched him in court. When he was elected district attorney, he thankfully, he saw something in me, some potential, and he brought me into the district attorney's office, and I watched everything that he did. And so I was mentored by him, and I mean, he's the best. And so I'm so thankful that him and Danny took me in 1996 because I would not be here today.
Joe, there was a point in time when you were just starting that I know you had a lot of conversations with Cam, and you had to switch from when he was a coach and a teacher to you being the district attorney. What kind of advice did he give you that you carry today?
Well, one, it goes further than that. Not only was he my high school teacher who tried to teach me, But also, when I first got involved in politics, he was there to help me with my debates and all, and he was the one coaching me at that level as well. So he's been in my life for a long, long time. Like I said, you can't. He's taught me so many things with the humble man that he is, and the wealth of knowledge that he brings to the table. He is just. I look up to him. He's a great man.
Sheriff, parish president here, and Sheriff, you go a long way back. You're like a walking book of knowledge when it comes to these things, because you've been in office for so long. And I mean, to see this happen and to watch what Cam went through and you helping him with the building and all, just your own interpretation of what today means.
I'll tell you, well, it's called institutional knowledge, having been here a long time and having worked with Cam over those years. I've learned a lot from him. And when he said that this recognition, this plaque on this little wooden building meant more than anything he's accomplished, I can understand that. You know, the abuse of children is such an insidious crime to the child itself, but oftentimes what we find is those abused children grow up to be adults who then abuse other children. And so having a facility like this, the Child Advocacy Center, is so necessary. And Cam's done a lot in his career. He's prosecuted some of the worst criminals in Lafourche Parish, David Brown, sentenced to death, and you name all the other crimes. But those prosecutions have an end. This building has a future. It's not just going to serve the kids today, it's going to serve kids into the future. So I really understand and appreciate why Cam took that to heart and had that moment of reflection to see his name on something, a legacy that lives on.
And it's a non-intimidating building. That's the key, right?
Yeah, it's not intimidating. If you go out, and I hope you do, go into the inside and get a better look at what it does and how it works, and let Shannon talk about it. You'll really appreciate it. And it's also nice, too, and I want to applaud Christine for recognizing him, not when he's dead, but when he's alive and can enjoy it. All too often, people pass on and say, oh, what a great guy, let's go dedicate something, or a great woman. It's important that we recognize people at a point in time where they and their families can understand and appreciate and enjoy it.
That's a great point. Archie, just starting off, did you really get put in the PTI by Cam Morvant, or was that just a joke?
No, really, 17 years old, got a traffic ticket from one of the sheriff's deputies, who I now know.
The sheriff gives you a ticket,
that's right.
And Cam puts you in PTI. You've come a long way.
I've come along. That's what Cam was just joking. As one of the most successful PTI program respondents, I think. But yeah, look, I mean, it just shows the compassion that Cam had for younger kids, and looking at this center, the most vulnerable youngest kids, as we see come through here, just shows what a great man of character he is, what a great man of faith he is, and why it's so nice to be able to dedicate this to him today.
When you were giving him the proclamation, you know, as a coach, he was very intimidating, but he came across real nice. You would get to know him, but he's still kind of intimidating, and you got to give him a proclamation today.
He does. You know, I always used to joke when I was working for Miss Randolph back then that when the phone would ring and his number would pop up, you know, I'd always get nervous because you're always scared about what happened, right? What did you do? And you never really did anything. Right. And most of the time he was either calling to mentor you about something or give you a lesson on a parish ordinance or a parish law or the Homewood Charter. So like he's been a great mentor over the years, and he was great to work with in the first couple of years we were in office, and then switching over to Miss Russell and seeing all the great things she's done. And again, a culmination of a lot of hard work over the years from people like the sheriff and Cam and Christine and Shannon to put in a brick and mortar building to really help our community.
Here's the ticket off your record now.
It is, thank God.
All right. Clear sailing for the parish president and the sheriff here. Great honor for Coach and former district attorney Cam Morvant.
This is our observation room. This is the piece where law enforcement, DCFS, or any of those entities involved in the initial stages of the investigation monitor our interviews. The computer screen or the television screen with the table and chairs is the actual interview room that is live monitored, along with law enforcement who can listen to the interview in real time. And through an electronic wireless piece, they communicate with me throughout the interview. So I never actually have to leave the room to communicate with law enforcement. They just talk to me through a little earpiece. And we have internal security monitoring, watching the interactions between children and parents. Up front and up top, the piece is to observe for any exterior concerns, threats, because we do deal with high-level situations, so law enforcement can monitor 360 degrees around the outside of the building while we have victims inside the room. As we go down the hall this way, we'll go and give a piece of the interview room. The interview room is set up for whatever age appropriateness from the ages of 3 to 17 years old. Children are allowed to come in here and sit wherever they want. And interviews typically last anywhere between 30 minutes or so up to some have gone over an hour based off the amount of information they have to discuss. And after the interview side of things takes place is where therapy picks up from there, and therapy picks up from there, and they would contact and reach out to the therapist. And when therapy takes place, this is where the sessions take place with the children. They come, and Miss Tanya does a great job of making sure she has all the tools and resources needed to give the children what they need to work through their trauma.
This segment was brought to you by Barker Honda. It's better at Barker.